Right. Welcome everyone to episode 102 of Our Travel Experiences podcast. I'm your host Kyle Rasmussen, and today we're continuing with the Google Map series here. So let me share my screen. All right, there we go. Yeah, so this episode I thought I would talk about a trip that I've always wanted to do for a very long time. That I thought would just be, a great way to see this country. And that trip is basically to road trip across Canada via the Trans-Canada Highway, or Highway 1, I believe it is what it is. Personally, I would want to start probably in the east and come west, since I live out west, and I think if you go east to west, you can gain hours on the road trip and get greeted with some beautiful sunsets as you're driving along the way. Um, so in my case, I'd probably fly to Seattle to Boston and then take a car up here to Canada. And I'd probably start, yeah, let's see, where does it end? Or maybe I don't know. I would start out here on Nova Scotia. Um, and I think there's a lot to see here. Halifax is probably where I would start. And the city that I know nothing about, but it looks like they got Halifax Citadel. That looks interesting. The Museum of the Atlantic. Okay. Public Gardens. Canadian Museum of Immigration. All right. It's interesting. Point Pleasant Park. Now this would take place in the summertime. I feel like, you know, June, July, August, somewhere in there would be the best time to go. But yeah, I'd probably start there, explore Halifax a little bit, go to the coast here. Let's see what else they got here too. There's a national park. Interesting. But that looks pretty. Okay, might check that out. No idea how to pronounce that. Kahim Kajuk. Kajim Kajuk. I don't know. It's a hard name there. That looks interesting. Oh, and my computer's freaking out. All right. That's not good. What happened? Gotta refresh. Okay, technology. Yeah, that looks like a fun little spot there. I think it'd be fun, depending on the amount of time that I had. It'd be fun to do a little loop around here, come around back towards Halifax, and then let's see what we got up here. Saint Pierre and what is this? A French archipelago. Okay, interesting. I didn't know this was a thing. French archipelago south of the Canadian island of Newfoundland. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so I changed my trip here, and this is kind of how I plan out my trips a little bit. I'll usually look at TripAdvisor as well and see what interests me for activities in each place. But forgot St. John's is out here on Newfoundland Island, so I started in St. John's since I think that's the furthest east of Canada. Yeah, so it started way out here and start here. Oh, that looks cool. Signal Hill National Historic Site. Cape Spear Lighthouse. I'd imagine that the coastline's beautiful out here. Let's look at yeah, interesting. Okay, so I'd start there and drive along the highway here. Let's see. Yeah, Trans-Canada Highway. There we go. So I take that to Let's see, they have go all the way around Newfoundland here. Wow, that looks like a fun road trip just in itself. Let's see if I can do St. John's to Sydney. Sydney. Yeah, okay. So do a little road trip here. Wow, that's a long ways just in itself. Drive through. I'm sure this wilderness is beautiful in here. And drive all the way along here. Get to see some beautiful scenery. Take the ferry to Sydney, not Sydney, Australia, Sydney, Canada. And from there, I could go down, uh, could go, yeah, here on Nova Scotia and drive through there, drive down to Halifax, like I said, see how far Sydney to Halifax is. And that was 18 hours just to get to Sydney from St. John's already. So this would be a long trip. This would probably be like at least 2 weeks, I would say, which I think would be a lot of fun. That'd be a really fun summer road trip for a family or on your own or whatever. Let's see, to Halifax, 4.5 hours. Okay, pretty good distance there. Drive through there, Halifax, go around this little loop here, and come back up, and then go through this Truro. And I would want to get over here to Prince Edward Island too. Okay, looks like they can take ferry. Okay. Yeah, okay, I might do that instead. Go up here to New Glasgow. Just look like there's a ton there. And then take the and go to Caribou and very rural community with the boats. Nice. I'm sure there's good lobster up here. Take the ferry across to Prince Edward Island, and then you could go around to Charlottetown. That looks pretty. It's the capital of Canada's Prince Edward Island, southern coast of the province. Let's look at some photos. Yep, lobster. There we go. I'm sure lobster is a big industry in this part of Canada. Lots of boating, old church. That's a pretty church. Ooh, this looks like a cool little downtown. Sure, there's some good food and cafes in there. Some boats. Huh, okay, that's really beautiful. Spend some time there and then go along. So let's see. Let's do Caribou to Charlottetown. Oh, it might make me not do that since it's winter time. Anyway, still not all that far. And then let's do Charlottetown. So get back on to Nova Scotia into New Brunswick. I wonder what that line is. Oh, it is right there. Okay. So back to New Brunswick, that province. And I would go, wow, Maine goes way up there. That's crazy. That's so wild. So take Highway 2, that's what it is, the Trans-Canada Highway. Go up around Maine. Oh wow, that runs along the border. Interesting. To Quebec City, where I will not be able to speak any French, even though I took 2 years in high school, because languages are hard for me and I don't retain them very well at all. So 9.5 hours to Quebec from, oops, wrong spot, Charlottetown. 9 hours. Drive through there. I think just being out in the wilderness. I mean, this is a lot of wilderness out here. Canada's very sparsely populated, even at the lower uh, the lower latitudes. So into Quebec City, which I know is one of the great cities of the world. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's beautiful. Mostly French speaking Provence. Provence. Montmorency. I know like downtown is really beautiful here. Um, let's look at some pictures. That's pretty right there. Oh wow, look at that. Okay, fall might be a good time to go too. Go like September-ish. That'd be beautiful up there. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so this building is the iconic part of Quebec. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong too. I think this is it. The Fairmont Le Chateau Frontenac. Oh, only 250 bucks a night. I mean, that's expensive, but I thought it would be more expensive for such an iconic building there. But yeah, the downtown is where I would love to explore. It looks like there's a ton to see in here. Um, yeah, drive through there. After maybe a day or two there, go on to Montreal, which I believe that's pretty quick. Montreal, just a short little drive. Oh wow, 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's longer than I thought. That's crazy. Okay, so into Montreal, and let's look at Montreal here. It's the largest city in Canada's Quebec province. Okay. Notre Dame Basilica Montreal. That looks crazy. Montreal Biodome. Interesting. Mount Royal, Botanical Gardens. Let's look at some photos here. That's pretty. Sure, there's great cafes here. I'm a big fan of cafes, so big city. Ooh, that's a good view. Yeah, it looks like some pretty views over the city. Lots of things. Very nice river. That looks cold in the winter. Yeah, very pretty. Got lots to see and do there. All right, so then Montreal, and then we'll go on to Ottawa, which should be a lot shorter. 2 hours and 5 minutes. Wow, that is not what I was expecting again. That seems so much closer, I thought. Yeah, wow. I thought it would be like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, but that's 2 hours and 5 minutes. So on to Ottawa, which is now in Ontario. Looks like Quebec. Yeah, Quebec's a big province. Geez, it's all the way up there along the Hudson Bay. Interesting. Ottawa is Canada's capital in the east of southern Ontario, near the city of Montreal at the US border. Okay, so it's the capital. Wow, that looks terrifying. National Gallery of Canada with the giant spider. I don't know that I want to see that necessarily. Canadian Museum of History, that's definitely something I'm interested in seeing. I will definitely go there if I'm ever in Ottawa. Rideau Canal, that's probably fun to skate on in the winter. Parliament Hill, interesting to see the government of Canada. The Canadian War Museum, also very interesting. Aviation and Space Museum, also interesting. Let's get some photos here. That looks very cold. Oh, that's pretty. Some good picture. Good bridge. That's pretty. Yeah, this river looks kind of similar to Montreal. in a way. Um, that's pretty. Okay, go back. All right, yeah. So there's a lot to see and do there. Spend a day or two there, and then from Ottawa, I would go. Well, let's see how this would work. I would probably want to go off of the highway briefly to go to Toronto, since I would be so close. Um, but I haven't been to Toronto other than the airport. So, sorry. Um, yeah, I'd probably go to Toronto, so I'd go off of the Trans-Canada Highway for a minute, down to Toronto, 4.5 hours. Wow. And I know there's a lot to see and do in Toronto. CN Tower, love to see a Blue Jays game there. Royal Ontario Museum, Art Gallery, St. Lawrence Market. Put some photos here. That's pretty skyline. Oh wow, that's kind of cool. It's like a tree growing out of an old car. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So I go spend some time there, and then I would get back on the highway and probably go up to Thunder Bay here. So Toronto to Thunder Bay. How far is that? That's gotta be a long ways. 15 hours. Wow. Ontario is a big place as well. Jeez Louise. 15 hours to get here to Thunder Bay, city on Lake Superior in northwestern Ontario, Canada. Looks like a small town. Drive through there, and then I would drive on to Winnipeg, Manitoba. Seven. Wow, these are longer distances than I'm thinking. So almost 8 hours to that, but you would gain an hour here. So Winnipeg, and get out of there. This looks like a pretty town. Canadian Museum of Human Rights. That would be interesting. Going to Atlanta, the national, is it? Sorry, tangent here. Don't remember the name of it now. National Center for Human and Civil Rights, I believe. It's down here. Yeah, National Center for Civil and Human Rights. Definitely recommend checking that out if you're ever in Atlanta. It's right next to all of the other, like the Coca-Cola Museum, World of Coca-Cola, the College Football Hall of Fame is right there. It's Tenniel Olympic Park. Everything's basically right there. It's pretty nice, but definitely recommend checking that out. It can be hard to go through, for sure. So I'm wondering if that's what that's like in Canada. Okay. The Forks Market, that looks fun. Historic shopping and dining complex. Art gallery, Assiniboine Park, Manitoba Museum. Always interested in the history of the place. Hockey, of course, if there is some sort of hockey game when I am coming through here, would love to see that as well. Probably stop at Tim Hortons a few times, get coffee and donuts. All the Canadians probably hate me right now saying all these things, but yeah, okay. So I go through Winnipeg there, and then I would go on to Winnipeg to, I think it's pronounced Regina in Saskatchewan, 6 hours. And yeah, so we go here. Regina is the capital of Saskatchewan, Canada. The Royal Saskatchewan Museum has exhibits on Canada's Aboriginal peoples. That's interesting. Photos. Oh, that's pretty wow. Good Capitol building. Beautiful water there. Wow, this looks like a nice city. That's pretty. That's good flowers. sure the winters are brutal. Okay, so on to Regina, spend the night there maybe. And then from there, would go to across to Calgary. Now we're getting closer to my neck of the woods, 7.5 hours. Okay. So over to Calgary, and Calgary is a place I wanted to go for a long time. It's a pretty place. Alberta is the province. Dinosaur Provincial Park, interesting. Glenbow Museum, Winsport, Calgary Tower. Let's look at the pictures here. It looks like they got a good skyline. Ooh, that's an interesting building. Yeah, well, that's a nice stadium arena. Yeah, okay, this would be a pretty spot to stop. And then not too far away from Calgary is one of the top places that I would want to go. Not sure why that is doing that. To Banff National Park. Let's just do that, see what happens. Yeah, okay. So just outside of Calgary is Banff. Banff is an iconic national park, and Google Maps always does that. That's the one issue. If anyone from Google Maps is listening or watching, I wish you guys could show like the trails into like you're showing the middle of this park. It'd be interesting to see like how you can actually get there. Like, I know if you change it from like a trail or if you're hiking, it would show it, but I would like to see both at the same time. Good, but even stops there. That's annoying. Okay. Anyways, Banff National Park, beautiful. Yeah, look at this picture. Jeez, that's worth everything right there. Wow. Up into the Rocky Mountains here in Canada, so it's beautiful. Jeez, well, that's pretty. Hopefully, I'll get there this year. If nothing else, if I can't do a road trip across Canada, I will certainly do my best to get to Banff this year. Anyways, and it's right off the highway there, the Trans Canada Highway. So then let's go from Banff. I'd camp out there if I could, or stay in the town of Banff itself. To gonna get into British Columbia here, and I'm gonna go to Kamloops since I know lots of people there. Through Rotary. Oops, it's on hiking. That'd take a long time to get there. But from the national park, it'd take about 5 hours driving. Yeah, so coming there to Kamloops, Canadian city in British Columbia. That picture looks pretty up there. Oh yeah, this is very similar to. So this is like straight up from where I live. So very similar geography. That looks exactly like where I live. Um, yeah, okay, looks like a nice little downtown. And then from Kamloops, I would want to go to Vancouver. I don't think that's all that far, although in the wintertime it's probably gonna stay longer. Just gotta cross some mountains. 4 hours to get down there. Vancouver is a really beautiful city, similar to Seattle. And yeah, I really enjoyed my time in Vancouver years ago. Man, that's been a long time ago now, 5.5 years, I think. And then from Vancouver, to finish off the entire going all the way across Canada, I would need to get to Victoria Island here. And so I would take Actually, let's look at Vancouver since I showed pictures of everything else. Vancouver's beautiful. Stanley Park, amazing. Granville Island, fun little place to buy some beers and art and food and all that stuff. Um, they got the suspension bridge out there. I think it's Capilano. Um, yeah, there's a lot of great things to see here. The pictures. Yeah, beautiful waterfront. Very walkable city too, honestly. We walked a lot when I was there, and it was really pretty. Yeah. Okay, so then from Vancouver, go to Vancouver, we get to Victoria, British Columbia. I wonder if oh, you can't take the ferry there. Okay, nice. I thought you'd maybe have to go to. Actually, I'd probably just extend it. Since we've already been on this road trip for 2 weeks. What feels like 2 weeks, I'm sure, to everyone who's listening. But let's go to Nanaimo first. Take the ferry across there onto the island, Vancouver Island. Is a city and ferry port on the east coast of Vancouver Island, British Columbia. That looks really pretty. Reminds me of Coeur d'Alene. Yeah, that'd be a fun little stop. Okay, definitely add that into the trip. Not too far of a ferry ride from there. Be interesting. This has got to be all if you go all the way up Vancouver Island here. I'm sure there's just lots of forest, lots of rain. Um, I know this is some of the rainiest place on Earth. Basically, is this area, and but just for the road trip's sake, let's go from Dinomo down to Victoria, where I would end the trip. And there we go. Not too far of a drive. Victoria. I haven't, it's crazy. I haven't been to Victoria. It'd take me 5 hours to get there from where I live. And I really need to go to Victoria at some point. It's beautiful. I mean, look at that. That's stunning. Note. Very nice city. So, yeah, I should just make a long weekend and go there. I've just been exploring further away than that. So Victoria hasn't been a priority, but it should be. It should be for sure. Yeah, it's really pretty. Wow. Okay, so Victoria would be the end of the trip. Sorry if this wasn't the most exciting episode. I think it's interesting. This is what I literally do for fun. So I will just look at Google Maps. I'll look at the different cities, see how I can plan out the road trip. I got some other ones coming up, so I need your guys' help to plan out some trips that I'm thinking of this year. And yeah, so that's the road trip across Canada. Probably yeah, probably planned for like 2 weeks or so. There's a lot to see and do. Canada is a huge country. Even just going along the southern part where most of the people are, it's a long ways, but Canada actually extends all the way up there. I've flown over way up here, like northern Canada, many times. It's frozen wasteland, to be honest, frozen tundra, but it's really really pretty to see from the air. There's not a lot out there. It's pretty desolate land, but very beautiful, for sure. So yeah, that's my road trip there. That's episode 102, and we'll see you for episode 103 next week. All right, keep traveling, everyone. I'll see you somewhere around the world soon.